guys, so Pippa and I are going to teach you how to solve two-step equations today. So say bye, Pippa. Alright, so first off, when you solve two-step equations are going to have two of something, right? So they're going to have two operations. Okay, so two-step equations, you've got to do two things. You're going to have to either add or subtract, subtract and multiply, divide and add. So you've got two operations going on. So when you are solving two-step equations, you always have to take care of the addition and subtraction first. Okay, so it's a little bit backwards from the order of operations. So we're going to do addition and subtraction, and then that means then we're going to multiply or divide. Okay? So again, when you're doing two-step equations, you have to add or subtract first before you can multiply or divide. Okay? And there's one special case where that does not happen, but we'll talk about that later. So here we go. So here's what a two-step equation looks like. You've got an equal sign with a number on one side, and then you've got a variable and a number. So first off, you have to take care of what's furthest away from the variable. Okay? So I have a 6 right here. That means the opposite of a 6 is going to be a -6. So I'm going to subtract 6 right below it. If you do it to the one side, you're going to do it to the other side of the equal sign over here. And don't laugh at my writing because I'm on a computer. So then the 6 minus 6 will cancel out to 0. 12 minus 6 is going to be a 6. So then you're going to have to bring everything else down. So bring down your equal sign, and then we're going to drop down that 3x. It is so hard to write on a laptop. Okay, so then now I'm going to either have to multiply or divide. So this looks like a one-step problem that we've done all week. So they're multiplying by a 3. So opposite of multiplying by a 3 would be dividing by a 3. So I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. 3's will cancel out. And then 6 divided by 3 is going to be a 2. Bring down my equal sign and then my x. So my final answer is going to be x equals 2. You could also flip it around with x on the left side if you wanted to. Okay? But both of those problems are right. And remember, you can always plug back in your answer to see if it checks out. I know 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. It worked out. Okay? So that's an example of a pretty common two-step equation you might see. So why don't you go ahead and try number 2 on your own. Press pause, and then we will go over the answer. You should have gotten x equals a -6. So first off, you had to add or subtract first. So you kind of ignore what's next to the variable and you look what's furthest away from it. So they were subtracting 7. Opposite of subtracting 7 is adding 7. And remember, those cancel out. Then I'm going to do it to the other side, and then 7 plus 5 is going to be a 12. So then don't forget, you've got to bring everything else down that you didn't touch. So I had -2x equals 12. Now I can do my one-step problem and divide by the number in front of the variable. So divide by -2. -2 divided by -2 was just a 1, so that canceled out and leaving me with a -6. Okay? So let me know if you have any questions on those kinds of two-step problems. Otherwise, we are going to move down here to some fractiony looking problems. So, first off, you've got an 8 out front and you've got this 4 attached to the variable. So again, you can't deal with anything attached to the variable until the very end, so you have to add or subtract first. So I need to get rid of this 8 out front, and that 8's positive since it's out front, so the opposite of an 8 is going to be a -8. So I'm going to -8 to the left side, which means I need to do it to my other side over here. And then 8 minus 8 is 0. I can bring down that m over 4. And then I can also solve this out. So since my signs are different, I'm going to subtract them, and then 8 minus 6 is a 2. My answer is going to be -2 since there are more negative numbers. Alright, now I've got a one-step problem that looks like something we did yesterday. So they are dividing by 4. That means I'm going to do the opposite and multiply by 4. So I'm going to multiply by 4 on this side, and I'm going to multiply by 4 on the right side. So 4 divided by 4 will cancel out. leaving me with just an m. And then I'm going to do negative 2 times 4 and get a negative 8. Okay? Alright, so that's how you do some fraction-y problems. Again, you have to add or subtract first before you can multiply or divide. So why don't you try number 4 on your own? Press pause and we will go over the answer. 4, you should have gotten a positive 2 for your answer. So first off, you had to get rid of this negative 5 since it was furthest away from the variable. Opposite of a negative 5 is a positive 5. So I did that to both sides. These will cancel out. When I add these or subtract them because their signs are different, 6 minus 5 is a 1, and there are more negative signs, so I got a negative 1. So I had x over negative 2 equals negative 1. And then now I can get rid of this dividing by a negative 2 by doing the opposite and multiplying by a negative 2 on both sides. So these negative 2's will cancel out, leaving you with an x, and then a negative times a negative is a positive answer. Okay? Alright, so those are examples of fraction problems. Okay? Now let's move on to a little bit more trickier problems. Now, number 5 doesn't look that tricky, but this sign right here is the trickiest part of this problem. So you've got 9 equals 5 minus x, and so you need to get rid of this 5, okay? But you don't add 5 because of this subtraction sign here, because this negative sign is attached to this imaginary negative 1 right here. So if you want to write a negative 1 there to help you out, go for it. So I need to get rid of a 5. The opposite of a 5 is a negative 5. So I'm going to negative 5 right below it, or subtract 5 on both sides. It's a really bad 5. 5 minus 5 will cancel out, and then I'll have 9 minus 5, which is a 4. Okay? Now I need to bring down the rest of my problem, and don't forget that the negative sign, because that's a negative 1x. Okay? So now I'm dealing with a division problem because I've got a coefficient and a variable right beside each other, so it's multiplication. Divide both sides by a negative 1, and your negative 1's will cancel out, leaving you with an x, an equals, and then 4 divided by negative 1 will be a negative 4. So x equals negative 4 is going to be your answer. So again, if you have a negative in front of a variable, you can go ahead and put that imaginary 1 there to help you out. But when you bring down the problem, don't forget to bring down the negative sign with it. Okay? Alright, I am also going to do 6 because it's a little bit tricky because we have a full fraction with us. But first off, I know I can't deal with that fraction yet because it's touching the variable. I need to get rid of this plus 3 by doing the opposite of subtracting 3 from both sides. And then that will cancel out. And then negative 6 minus 3. Remember, when the signs are the same, I'm going to add them and get a bigger negative, so negative 9. I'm going to bring down my equal sign, and then I'm going to bring down my fraction 3 over 2 x. Okay? Now, remember with fractions, you have to multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of that fraction. So the reciprocal is going to be 2/3. So I'm going to multiply by 2/3. If I do it to the left side, I'm going to do it to the right side and multiply by 2/3. Okay? So now 2 divided by 2 goes away, and then 3 divided by 3 goes away, leaving me with just an x and an equals. Now remember, you can always put this fraction over 1 to help you out, and you'll multiply by across and the bottom. So negative 9 times 2 is negative 18. And then 1 times 3 is 3. So now I need to figure out if 18 is divisible by 3, and it is. 18 divided by 3 is a 6. And my answer is going to be negative, because when you've got one negative and you're dividing or multiplying, your answer is negative. So negative 6 is my answer. Okay? So with fractions, you have a whole fraction in front of the variable. Remember, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. All right, so those are two-step problems. And now we're just going to get into that special case we talked about earlier, where I always said first you have to add or subtract on all of these problems except for one special case. And that special case is going to involve a fraction bar. okay? So fraction bar, if you notice, is this really, really long fraction sign where you've got two terms in the numerator, you've got two terms in the top of the fraction. So in this case, you have to multiply first. And that is the only time you will ever multiply first. Okay, and then you'll have something that looks familiar on how to solve. So let's take a look at these three problems down here. So again, you've got two terms up top over dividing by one number. So first off, you have to get rid of the number in the denominator, and since they are dividing everything by 3, I'm going to do the opposite and times it by 3. So let me go purple this time. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. Now if I do it to the left side, I'm going to do it to the right side. Now, you need to go ahead and cancel something out from the very beginning. So you've got a 3 divided by a 3, which is a 1. So the 3's cancel out. So you're not distributing that 3 to the top whatsoever. And so you just bring down the term on top. That's a really bad x. Let me go ahead and erase that. So you've got x plus 9. We're going to bring down the first two terms, equals, and then we're going to multiply this out 4 times 3 to get negative 12. Okay? So again, when you are dividing by a number on bottom, first off, you're going to multiply by it. If you want to remember to cross multiply, go for it. But you do not distribute. You just bring all the terms up top down. And then you've got a one-step problem. That's pretty simple. So I'm going to do the opposite of a plus 9 and subtract 9 on both sides. My positive 9 and my negative 9 will cancel out, leaving me with x equals, and then my signs are the same, so I know I'm going to add them and get a bigger negative. 9, 10, 11, that would be negative 21. Alright, so I'm going to do number 8 with you, and then I will leave you free to do number 9. If you want to press pause and try both of them, go for it. But first, so again, this is the weird problem where I'm going to have to multiply first. I need to cross multiply those, or basically times by a negative 2 on both sides. And then they'll cancel out immediately. I will bring down m minus 5. And then I will do 6 times negative 2, which is a negative 12. Again, now this makes it look like a pretty easy one-step problem where I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Cancel out, leaving me with m equals. Now my signs are different, so I'm going to subtract them. 12 minus 5 is 7. And then since there are more negatives, my answer would be negative 7. Okay? Alright, now why don't you try number 9 on your own? Press pause and we'll go over the answer. Number 9, you should have gotten 5. So again, first off, they were dividing by a 5, so I multiply by 5 on both sides. Again, cancel them out immediately, leaving you with g plus 10 equals a 15. Subtract 10 on both sides to get a 5. Okay? Alright, so now you are a rock star at solving two-step equations, and so you can practice now. So your options for practice, there is a quizzes. So if you want to go to that website and enter that pin in, make sure you show some work on a sheet of paper, because we are at the point where you can't really do these in your head, especially without a calculator. So show some work, and then you can also do a coloring worksheet if you would like, or I have a maze. So pick one of those 3 and go ahead and start practicing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Two-Step Equations. Bye-bye.